What's going on, everybody? Doc from Average Gamer Guys back yet again. More Halo Wars 2 action and another mission guide for you. This is Mission 2, Fighting Retreat. This is going to be gold medal. All objectives will knock out the achievements associated with those. And as always, right up front, here are the objectives. So 2 optional, 3 bonus: recovering the blisterback crews, recovering the salvage teams, recovering resources, building defenses, and then killing pod infectors. Honestly, the 2 that most people will probably end up missing is going to be the optional, which is recovering the crews, and then more specifically actually probably recovering the salvage teams, because they are pretty spread throughout the map. So for the majority of this one, as always, we'll going to run through the entire gameplay for you, going to show you exactly what I did and exactly kind of how I went about knocking this out. For this mission, it's very canned, to be really honest. So I'm going to give you some upfront tips and pointers, and then once we get to the final defense location, I'll go into specifics where the salvage teams are and kind of the best way to move around the map to grab them. With this mission, you shouldn't have any problem getting a gold medal as long as you're keeping most of your units alive. You get a good combat score because time-wise, it's pretty much always going to take the same amount of time because it is very canned, and you're going to run through the same amount of waves. Now obviously if you kill the enemies a little bit faster, you can progress the waves a little bit quicker, but as long as you're being consistent with that, you shouldn't have too much issue really knocking this one out. Again, this is running through it on easy because that's the easiest way to get the gold medal, along with all of these bonus and optional objectives at the same time. In order to get the achievement associated with that, you do have to complete the gold medal and all of the objectives at the same time. Here's one of 2 Phoenix logs, so it's in your second defense location on the right hand side of the screen or the map for you, so make sure to grab those. There is 2 in this as well, so we'll show you the other location here when it rolls up. But again, we're rolling through this. Again, I'm going to speed through the gameplay because for the most of this, like I said, it's very canned. You're going to do the same specific things over and over. Really, you're just going to need to expand at each different defense location, expand throughout the map, build on every turret, base, and defense spot. So you see the turrets here, you see the barriers here. You need to build on every single one of those. That's going to get you your 20 base defense buildings built. You also need to build your defenses on your main base when you get to the final location. And then from there, the other real key portion is just to collect these resources. So just make these a very specific target for you, especially in these early portions of the defense rounds where it lets you build up, lets you grab supplies, and kind of start to get things set. So that's kind of the big one up front. So we'll keep rolling through this, like I said, and we'll just kind of continue to talk. But the big things, like I said, for these first couple of defense spots before you get to your final base, is going to be collecting resources and building your defenses. Now I definitely recommend for this first base right here that you have, definitely just build resources. That's what I did. It seemed to kind of help me a little bit longer as we get into the later game. It helps you expand your base, your final base, a little bit faster, and honestly, grunts are more than capable of handling the flood that ends up coming through here. I do take the turrets, and I always make the turrets anti-infantry, especially for these waves here, because they're just so many infantry, and it's a great way to do that. I do love the ultra mines. Definitely upgrade those. I think those would actually be the first thing that I would upgrade, and from here I'm really just pumping out a ton of grunts to kind of help. I will say put Pavium on the right hand side. He's more than capable of holding his own and defending those guys just by himself. I would just literally put him over there by himself. I did throw a couple of grunts his way, but the rest of the team I would just put on that left hand side. And really, to be honest, you don't even really need to defend the shield barrier side. There's only a very few minor portions of the waves that will make their way over there. And interestingly enough, the game does a great job of actually showing you the path on your minimap of where these flood are coming from. So like you see I'm doing here, as soon as I get ultramines, I'm popping those down. I'm still pumping grunts out just so I can power up my force, and you can see I've got plenty of forces, plenty of grunts at this point. I'm really not losing units. Minus this center portion here, this turret. These 2 turrets right there are really doing a lot of work, and I just kind of continue to pump like I said, continue to pump grunts out just to kind of defend this specific left-hand side. Now, obviously, you could do the opposite. You could put Pavium over here and grunts on the opposite side. Dealer's choice on that one. You do need to kind of be focused on that little extra wave that comes in there, but when it does, your timer is going to elapse. So here's another one. Again, you're going to get a mini base, and you can see the nice thing for making a bunch of grunts right there is actually the fact that we are going to be able to keep them. Anything that stays alive is going to come with us, which is really awesome. And you're going to see here with the couple minutes that I have remaining before anything gets set. Again, I'm moving around the map, breaking all of the cores that I can, and they do take some time, so make sure to focus on them. Here is your first of 4 salvage teams, so make sure you swing to the right hand portion of this map. Make sure you clear out the enemies. They will get some flood that spawns in, so you'll need to knock those out. You will end up actually getting a locust, which is super helpful for taking down not only the flood because of its range, but also obviously taking down the rest of these cores. Pavium is also really awesome at taking down cores as well, so make sure to use him, move him around the map. The nice thing, again, you get about 2 minutes to do this, so just get in there and knock this out. I did throw a couple grunts in there. I don't think that was necessary. I am going to keep the locust over there just to make sure he finishes up that core. I don't believe you have to get all of the cores, but I definitely recommend trying to do that anyways, just for the sole fact that they're good resources, and you're honestly not going to gain a whole lot of resources from any of these mini bases. You saw I built a power and supply generator on this mini base as well, along with a foundry. I wanted the foundry to start pumping out marauders just because they do have a pretty good amount of damage. You're going to see a little bit stronger waves here. You have the 3 sets of Goliaths to actually protect here, so throwing 2 marauders back there for some of those extra spawns was helpful. But they're just a better unit, and they just are going to last longer for you, obviously more so than the grunts. So again, very similar setup here. I'm going to build both the barriers. I'm going to build any turrets that are available. I'm going to upgrade those turrets to anti-infantry, and then I'm just going to start spreading the forces out a little bit. You get a little bit more diverse pronged attack on this side, but again, it seems like they very much like in Terminus Firefight, they go to the path of least resistance. So if you have a shield barrier up there, typically they're going to route around. I do throw a couple mines down just because, again, they do really great damage. They'll take out huge amounts of these flood spores. And it's just a great way to do that. I'm going to start just pumping out some vehicles, separating those between, making sure to keep 1 or 2 to the middle, right behind the Goliath Team B, just to make sure again that they're not getting hit. You do start to see some vehicles in this wave, so keep that in mind. But again, you don't have to hold out for too long. You can see at this point we're already down to the 20-second mark. They will really start to flood in as they should, and I just, as a side note, have to say how much of a great job they did on this, because it's absolutely awesome, just the terrorizing amounts of enemies that they throw at you. But really, that's your second defense, pretty easy. So here's your main defense, and here's where we're going to slow it down for you and kind of talk specifically through exactly what I was doing. So again, first and foremost, get your supplies going, get your base built, get your defenses around the base, because this specific one is all about protecting your base. Before you were worried about the Goliaths, no longer. You really just need to keep your base secure and keep it healthy throughout the course of this entire fight. So you see they do give you the reminder, kind of the key in, to say, hey, go get these blister backs, which is really nice because that is one of your optional objectives. So head over there. That's the other reason I liked having some marauders at this point, because 2 things. One, they're going to take those energy cores and those power cores down a whole ton faster, which is absolutely awesome. So you're not spending nearly as much time kind of waiting on those. Here I made kind of a slight mistake and some error. Definitely build some additional supply and some additional energy pads. That is absolute. I would say stick with just the foundry because you can't actually build anything except for engineers out of the air pad. So there's your second Phoenix log, kind of the bottom-ish left-hand corner of the screen, just for your awareness. But definitely stick with just the foundry. I would also obviously build a your war council, because you do get the arbiter hero in this as well, which is really awesome. He is super effective. He's great at actually taking down these tentacles that we're going to see here in a few minutes, so definitely get him going. But first and foremost, build some supplies, because you're going to need them, and you're going to want the capability to have your team here built up quickly. Now, at each of the blisterback spawns, you're going to get one of your turrets. That's also very critical, because you need to put those turrets down with those that counts towards your 20 defense. You also have two power generators that you can grab on the map, so make sure you're throwing at least 1 or 2 infantry with them. Clear those spots out, grab those spots, get yourself some additional energy rolling. And again, here you see another salvage team kind of to the top right hand screen. There's actually going to be another salvage team across the way there that you're also going to have to be able to get. So that's two additional ones from the one that you already grabbed initially. And then we'll continue moving around the map and actually grab the last one. From my memory, I do believe it's in the top left hand corner, so we should see that here pretty quickly. You can see I did cover the 3,000 resources already, so that's kind of a bonus. I do think, although don't quote me on it, I do think if you create power and supplies for yourself at your base, that actually counts for you, but you definitely need the capability to get there with the supply drops and the power cores on the ground anyways. So you can see, yep, there is a salvage team right here. So there is the 3rd salvage team that we're grabbing, which is always awesome. Again, nicely enough, we do get the capability to grab that power right there. We'll finish these cores off, we'll grab the rest of it. You obviously do have a lot more time for this base defense as well, so make sure that you're taking the time moving around the map and get some of your upgrades going. Again, easy mode, while it's not the easiest ever, this definitely has the capability, especially this portion, to kind of overrun you if you're not very well prepared. I think you shouldn't have too much issues with this as long as you're doing what we're doing now, really spreading out multiple forces, grabbing these salvage teams, getting all those supplies, and then obviously moving towards to get your blisterbacks. So the spot I just highlighted there just a second ago is going to be your second blisterback spawn point, so make sure to get over there and grab those guys. I will say the 3 blisterback teams that are on the map, the damage that they're able to do to the flood is absolutely brutal, and it's absolutely awesome. As a special note as well, you see me building turrets on all these. I do recommend that on easy, although at the harder levels, if you're trying to maybe run this on normal or heroic and do this, I would definitely recommend get your base upgraded to level 3 and actually build a shield generator. You're going to get a ton of stuff that's going to come in that's going to be attacking the base, trust me, especially on the higher levels. I've been running through this on Legendary, and it's pretty tough, but I will say the extra defense that provides is really critical. So you see right here, here's your second crew. Again, please make sure get that turret built. There will be a few small waves that will actually come up to attack the blisterbacks. Nothing that a couple units and the turret itself, especially on anti-infantry, can't handle, because that is the only thing that's going to move over to attack them. I think I end up losing a few blisterbacks at the first location. I think maybe midway through, just because they do get hit by quite a bit. But again, nothing detrimental, and nothing that you can't handle with a couple units and the turret. The one other key tip I would have for you is, and I did a terrible job at this, obviously make sure you're garrisoning troops. That's really beneficial. You can actually garrison Pavium as well, which is really nice. This back corner here is a corner that a lot of people forget about, and you need to get all of your stuff built here to finish out that optional objective that you have. So there's 2 barriers and I believe 3 turrets over there that should completely finish me out once I build the final one. But as I was saying, so blisterbacks really good on the damage, so make sure you're grabbing those and getting them built. This is probably the one blisterback crew that you are going to end up missing, just for the sole fact that you do have to power that light bridge up. You got to run all the way around in kind of a U up into that ridge line there, but that ridge line is actually going to cover this back portion, which gets a ton of enemies. and it's super close to your base, so it's super easy then to kind of attack your barriers, get those barriers destroyed, and then start moving immediately on the base. So you'll kind of see here in just a few minutes how, once I get some more of the troops rolling, how I end up setting these up. I definitely do at this point. I really like the Wraith, especially with the burning plasma that they have. Because the additional shot, it's going to leave the area of effect damage, and you're going to see that you're going to end up getting extra burn damage, and on the smaller units it's really detrimental and really key to blowing them up. The other thing I realized I didn't actually mention that I told you I did bad but didn't share what I did was make sure you're putting your mines down and using them very often and very quickly, especially at the outset throughout the build-up period. Because I think if I would have done that and sent a unit or two down here to get these defenses that you're looking at built through some mines down there, I think that would have really helped some things. Also, I probably could have had 2 or 3 other sets of mines already down and already built, and kind of just pre-staging them, and these first initial couple of waves would have been a whole lot easier. Now, they're not, again, super difficult, but it would have just kind of helped me continue to ramp things up, get things a little bit more set. But here again, for this final base, you are going to see they're going to attack a lot of stuff. They're going to come from a lot of different directions, and like I said, Wraiths, Marauders, and these Locusts, if you kind of put them at the 4 corners, you should really be just about all set. And then make sure you're just, again, backing up some of your blister backs and backing up a lot of your defense locations, especially with anything with the shield barrier. And like I said, this bottom right hand corner of the map gets a ton of enemies. You'll see the bottom portion, they like to spawn things in pretty much right on top of you. As you see this Marauder getting hit right now. My blister backs are doing a great job of taking care of most of the damage, so that's really helpful. But again, it's very consistent right here, and it is going to be very consistent to the bottom portion, to the southernmost portion of your base. With enemies. Obviously you do still need to protect the front, but in my personal feelings, I felt like on easy mode you got the majority of the things were spawning right in from here, where there's no additional defenses, there's nothing really set up. And again, it seems like they took the path of least resistance, which was frustrating for me because I thought I had a pretty well defensive spread on a lot of this. So definitely make sure to get your hero in the battle. For me, I would put Pavium that bottom right hand corner and let him go to work. And like I said, so at this point you should be finished up with all of your bonus and optional objectives minus killing the flood spores, which got me a little bit nervous as I was running this timer down, but I can say that if you're efficient at killing things, it will take you probably till about the last minute or so that you have in order for it to hit. There's a couple points where I end up stopping, looking at them, and I'm like, man, am I going to get this? It's going to be really close, but trust me, you will end up getting it. You actually have some additional time and plenty of additional enemies to kill as you make your retreat from this base as well. So just kind of hang on. Like I said, work through this, about 10-minute defense that you got. If you got your base built and you built your supplies and you've built all of your turrets and your defenses, spread those guys out, put a couple units at each location, pay attention to your minimap for the trails of where these guys are coming from, and at that point you really should not have too much of an issue. I will say the other nice thing is on easy, the tentacles, you can focus on them, but honestly they don't do a ton of damage, so I would almost more say focus on the regular enemies and then make the tentacles kind of a secondary thought, because once you do take out the tentacles the first iteration, they will end up respawning anyways, so it's kind of a consistent threat, and something that you'll just constantly see, just as kind of a side note. So kind of keep that in mind. But at this point, again, you're kind of on autoplay, you're on auto defense, you're going to get plenty of keys and Q-ins for all the different times when your blister backs may be taking some damage and you might have to throw a couple units over there. Again, you can see I've got the Arbiter out. He is super awesome. Definitely use him, his rage ability, power him up, and kind of really treat this like a pure base defense if you would be in any kind of multiplayer setting, except for the fact that obviously you're fighting a multiple area front with pretty large waves of enemies moving through. Beyond that, it's like I said, pretty self-explanatory and not easy, really not too detrimental, not too difficult. Again, continue to use your ultra mines, continue to use your leader powers at this point. Again, if you've built and you've captured the 2 power nodes that you have on the map, you should be pretty much rolling in supplies. The nice thing about the Wraiths, they don't take a ton of energy to build, mostly just supplies, so you really should be rolling pretty good at that point. You'll have a pretty good level cap as well. And the other nice thing too is if you do have the additional supplies, don't be afraid to use your war console and actually upgrade your base. It helps all of the turrets, it helps all of the barriers as well, some additional health, some additional damage, as you guys know, and that just sets up pretty good. So again, as we kind of skim around the map and go to different areas, you can kind of see what I have set up. A couple Marauders and a Locust there, a couple Wraiths and a couple Marauders kind of near the back, Pavium and some additional units kind of back behind each of the shield barriers, and then just a few units kind of scattered up to the kind of right hand portion of the base. Again, here you see me kind of doing some fortification upgrades and really just trying to work through the upgrade tree. Again, important to note, what I should have done is actually probably again gotten rid of that air pad. Not beneficial for me, and it probably would have been better just being a supply or maybe another foundry. Same thing with the raid camp, really didn't use it. I definitely think Marauders and Wraiths are the way to go on this one, as well as the war console with the Arbiter. So you'll see here, we're just about wrapping it up. We're moving through the retreat portion of it. You know, the time is ticking down, and at this point we're just taking whatever units we have and running them away. Again, you can kind of see plenty of enemies still to shoot, so just keep track of your progress. And again, if at any point you miss one of the salvage teams or you miss picking something up, feel free to try to restart from a checkpoint, especially if you know you passed it based on the video, and you can always go back and grab that stuff fresh from the checkpoint and still work towards the goal of the achievements that you just pop there. The nice thing, again, once you complete this for the first time, you do get some packs. You also get some experience towards you, and again, you can see the score up on screen right now. So as we've seen in the past with the score, always the time bonus is going to be the biggest thing. Again, very, very canned on this one. As long as you're dealing damage and taking care of the waves, should have no problem beating that par time. This is actually probably potentially going to be my recommendation for doing a legendary mission with a skull on, although I still have to work through that, and I'll provide that guide as soon as I can once I get that knocked out, so stay tuned to the channel. Again, one last look here, flipping over sounds like me in Rocket League, but flipping over, we'll take a look again at the optional and bonus objectives to kind of remind you. Good chance, take the video, pause it at any of these different spots, that way you've got them and you can see them on screen and you kind of know what you got to work towards. So as always, hopefully this guide was helpful for you. Hopefully it helped you knock out a couple achievements, and if it did, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like and follow us, drop a comment down below. It's always nice to hear and chat with you guys. If there's anything you're hung up on, as always, please do let me know. Happy to help, happy to chat with you, and try to help you through it. So I've been Doc from Average Gamer, guys. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.